Tom Jenkins had always believed some places were meant to be untouched. Sacred pockets of peace amid the chaos of everyday life. His hayfield, a wide stretch of golden stalks swaying gently in the breeze behind his modest home, was one of those places. It wasn't just land to him. It was a refuge from the world, a place where he could breathe, think, and remember simpler times. The field had been in his family for generations, a legacy he guarded fiercely. That calm morning, however, something felt off. Tom was roused from his sleep not by the usual sounds of birdsong or the rustling wind, but by an unsettling chorus of heavy boots crunching over dry grass and the distant drone of machinery. Frowning, he pulled on his boots and stepped outside, the early sun casting long shadows across the field. From the porch, he saw the first shocking sight. A line of orange construction fencing zigzagging through the hay, marking off a large rectangular section near the center. Men in neon vests and hard hats were busy unloading metal poles and stacks of plastic chairs from a truck. There was a palpable buzz of excitement, but it wasn't the kind Tom wanted to hear. Before he could approach, his phone buzzed. A text from his neighbor, Carol. "Karen's at it again. Fencing off your field. Says it's for a community event." Tom's heart sank. Karen Whitmore, the HOA's self-appointed queen bee and board president, was known for pushing her ideas through no matter who she upset. He had tangled with her before, but never like this. She had never asked for his permission or even mentioned her plans. He grabbed his hat and walked toward the workers, his mind racing. "Excuse me," he called out, trying to keep his voice calm. "What's going on here? This is my land." One of the foremen glanced up, eyes sharp but cautious. "The HOA approved this. It's going to be a weekend party lot. They want to build a space where neighbors can gather, food trucks, live music, the works." Tom's gaze hardened. "Without my say, without even talking to me?" The foreman shrugged and went back to work. Tom felt a surge of anger and helplessness. This was his sanctuary, his hayfield, and Karen was turning it into a noisy, chaotic party zone. As he stood there, the scent of freshly cut hay was being replaced by something metallic and dusty. The golden waves of grass that had comforted him now seemed like fragile memories slipping through his fingers. He backed away, the weight of the moment pressing on him. But just as he turned, he caught movement out of the corner of his eye. Karen herself, striding across the field in a crisp white blouse and pearl earrings, clipboard in hand, her smile sharp and commanding. "Tom, good morning," she called, voice sweet, but with an edge that made his skin crawl. "I'm so glad you're here. This project is going to bring the neighborhood together like never before." Tom forced a polite smile, but said nothing. Deep down, he knew Karen's community was just a mask for control. As Karen continued her spiel, Tom noticed a few neighbors gathered nearby, watching quietly. Some nodded. Some exchanged uneasy glances. The atmosphere was charged with anticipation and an unspoken question. Was Karen's plan truly a blessing or a disaster waiting to happen? Later that evening, Tom sat alone on his porch, the field dark, behind him. His mind churned with memories of quiet evenings spent among the hay, sunsets that had painted the sky in fiery reds and purples, the gentle hum of cicadas, the sweet, earthy smell of fresh grass. Would those moments survive Karen's party lot? A sudden noise made him jump, the sharp crack of twigs nearby. His eyes darted toward the shadowed tree line. Was someone watching him? Was this just his imagination, or was something more sinister brewing? Tom clenched his fists, determination rising like a fire inside him. If Karen wanted a fight, he was ready, but he'd have to be smart, careful. This was more than just about land. It was about respect, legacy, and a peace that was worth defending. Tomorrow, he promised himself, he'd find out what Karen really planned. and he'd make sure she regretted underestimating him. The next morning dawned hazy and still, as if the neighborhood itself was holding its breath. Tom woke, early, unable to shake the uneasy feeling that had settled over him the night before. Karen's bold move to fence off his hayfield without permission wasn't just an affront. It felt like the first move in a game he didn't fully understand yet. At the HOA meeting that evening, the community gathered in the cramped conference room of the clubhouse. The air was thick with tension, hushed conversations drifting like ghosts around the room. Tom arrived early, hoping to hear what Karen would say to justify her sudden takeover. Karen stood at the front, radiant in a tailored blazer, her clipboard a shield she wielded like a weapon. "Thank you all for coming," she began, her voice smooth but commanding. "Our neighborhood has lacked a true gathering place, somewhere we can celebrate, connect, and build a stronger sense of community. That's why I proposed turning the hayfield into a weekend party lot." She clicked through a slideshow of bright images. Food trucks lined up under string lights, families dancing, smiling faces everywhere. The crowd murmured in approval, some nodding, others exchanging uncertain glances. Tom's eyes narrowed. Karen's words painted a perfect picture, but he had seen beneath that shiny surface. This wasn't just about community. There was something else, something darker, lurking behind her smile. When it was his turn to speak, Tom stood up, clearing his throat. "With all due respect, Karen, this field has been a sanctuary for decades. It's home to wildlife, a place where neighbors have found peace. Your plan might bring noise, litter, and chaos, and none of this was discussed with me, the landowner." Karen's eyes flickered, but she masked it with a laugh. "Tom, the HOA represents all the homeowners. Sometimes tough decisions have to be made for the greater good. Besides, I'm sure you'll come to see how this benefits everyone." From the corner of the room, Tom caught a glimpse of a few faces, some supportive, others hesitant, many silently watching. He wondered who else felt the same doubt creeping into their minds. As the meeting dragged on, Karen's presentation shifted. Suddenly, she hinted at a surprise feature for the party lot, a VIP section with exclusive perks, supposedly sponsored by an unnamed local business. Whispers rose in the room. Why hadn't this been disclosed earlier? Tom's instincts screamed that something wasn't right. Why the secrecy? Why the rush? After the meeting, he lingered near the exit, watching Karen pack up her materials. She caught his gaze and smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "You should join us at the first party, Tom. Maybe you'll change your mind." Tom hesitated. "Maybe, but I'll be watching." That night, unable to sleep, Tom drove past the field again. The orange fencing glowed under the streetlights, the plastic chairs stacked like soldiers waiting for battle. But what caught his eye were the trucks parked nearby. Not construction vehicles this time, but large black vans with tinted windows. He frowned, parking a safe distance away. Two men stepped out, speaking in low voices. Tom strained to listen. "Security needs to be tight. No one interferes," one said. The other nodded grimly. "Karen wants this done without any trouble." Tom's heart pounded. This wasn't just a neighborhood party. It was a covert operation, and Karen was running it. He pulled back into the shadows, mind racing. Who were these men? Why was Karen bringing in security? Was she expecting trouble, or planning something more? Back home, Tom sat at his kitchen table, flipping through old photos of the hayfield. Children playing, picnics, quiet evenings. A pang of loss tightened in his chest. This was his legacy, slipping away under the weight of Karen's secret agenda. Determined not to be blindsided again, Tom decided to dig deeper. He would find out exactly what Karen was hiding, no matter the cost. But as he reached for his phone, a chill ran down his spine. On the screen, an anonymous message appeared. "Back off. This isn't your fight." Tom's hands trembled slightly. The warning was clear, and the battle had only just begun. The anonymous message lingered on Tom's phone like a shadow he couldn't shake. "Back off. This isn't your fight." The words echoed in his mind as he stared at the screen late into the night. Who could have sent it? A concerned neighbor? One of Karen's allies? Or someone with darker intentions? Tom had always believed in peaceful negotiation, but now he felt the noose tightening around his sanctuary. He knew backing down wasn't an option. If Karen's plan went through, the quiet hayfield would become a playground for chaos, destroying years of peace and memories. The next day, Tom moved carefully, aware that eyes might be watching. He took long walks around the perimeter of his property, inspecting the fencing and noting the new surveillance cameras Karen had apparently installed without any HOA-wide announcement. The cameras gleamed coldly, their lenses like unblinking sentinels, tracking every move. Late that afternoon, as the sun began to dip below the horizon, Tom noticed a new development. Unfamiliar trucks pulled up near the field's edge. They weren't just delivery vehicles, but seemed equipped with heavy sound systems and lighting rigs. Men and women in black hoodies moved quickly, unloading gear in a practiced rhythm. Tom kept his distance but snapped photos with his phone, his mind racing. What kind of party needed this much setup? This wasn't the casual neighborhood gathering Karen had promised. Something bigger, something louder. As twilight deepened, Tom heard voices nearby. He crept closer, ducking behind a tree. "We're on schedule," a voice said. "Karen expects the party to be the event of the season. No mistakes," another voice added. "But what about the neighbors? That Jenkins guy is causing trouble." The first voice growled, "We'll handle Jenkins, quietly." Tom's blood ran cold. Handle wasn't a word for casual conversation. It was a threat. He backed away slowly, heart pounding. Karen's project wasn't just unwelcome noise, it was a battlefield, and he was the enemy. That night, uneasy and restless, Tom returned home only to find a thick envelope slipped under his door. Inside was a single unsigned note. "Stop interfering, or the consequences won't just be neighborhood disputes." His hands trembled as he read. The threat was unmistakable, but Tom's resolve only hardened. He refused to be intimidated. The following days grew tense. Mysterious noises echoed outside his house at odd hours. The crunch of footsteps, distant murmurs, the sudden screech of tires. His dog growled at shadows, pacing nervously. Tom felt trapped in a cage of suspicion and fear. He confided in a trusted neighbor, Mrs. Caldwell, a sharp-eyed widow who had lived on the street for decades. "Karen's always been ruthless," she said softly, sipping her tea. "But this is different. She's playing for keeps," Tom nodded. "I don't know what she's planning, but it's bigger than just a party lot, and now it feels like I'm being watched." Mrs. Caldwell reached into her pocket and handed him a small, folded piece of paper. "This might help. Someone tipped me off. Be careful, Tom." Inside was an address and a time. A clandestine meeting under the cover of darkness. Tom debated whether to go. The risk was high, but if he wanted to fight back, he needed allies and answers. That night, under the cloak of darkness, Tom slipped out of his house and drove cautiously to the location, an old barn on the edge of town, abandoned but still, standing firm. Inside, a small group had gathered, a mix of disgruntled neighbors, local business owners, and a few former HOA members disillusioned by Karen's rise. They whispered urgently about Karen's ambitions, not just a party lot, but a plan to privatize common areas, increase fees, and cement her control. Tom's heart sank. The battle wasn't just about his hayfield anymore. It was about the soul of the entire neighborhood. As the meeting ended, Tom stepped outside and looked up at the moonlit sky. The fight ahead was daunting, and danger lurked closer than ever. But he knew one thing for certain. Karen had awakened a sleeping giant, and he was ready to defend what was his, no matter the cost. The days that followed felt like walking, on a tightrope stretched thin and fraying. Tom's life became a blur of watchful eyes, whispered warnings, and mounting tension. Karen's plan was no longer just an annoying HOA project. It was a powder keg waiting to explode. On the morning of the first official party, Tom stood at the edge of his hayfield, heart pounding as workers finished setting up the last decorations. Bright banners fluttered in the wind, tents popped up like mushrooms, and the hum of generators drowned out the familiar sounds of crickets and frogs. The golden hay was buried beneath plastic tables, beer coolers, and blinking string lights. Neighbors started arriving, their faces a mix of curiosity, excitement, and hesitation. Some waved at Tom, others avoided his gaze. Karen was everywhere, orchestrating the event like a general on the battlefield, her laughter ringing sharp and rehearsed. But beneath the surface, something darker lurked. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the music cranked up. The field pulsed with life, a cacophony of laughter, shouting and clinking glasses. Tom watched from a distance, feeling like a stranger in his own land. Then, things began to unravel. First, the lights flickered. A sudden blackout plunged the party into uneasy darkness. Murmurs spread quickly. Some guests laughed nervously, others grew restless. Karen snapped orders into a walkie-talkie, trying to restore power. Then came the first fight. Two men near the food trucks exploded into an argument that escalated rapidly. Shouts turned into shoves, and soon a scuffle broke out. Tom's stomach churned. This wasn't the joyful gathering Karen had promised. Trying to stay unnoticed, Tom noticed figures slipping through the crowd, shadows that moved too quickly, eyes that seemed to watch him specifically. He ducked behind a tent and glimpsed a man in a black hoodie whispering into a phone. "He's here. Watching. We might have a problem." The atmosphere thickened. Someone was clearly trying to intimidate Tom to send a message. This party was Karen's domain, and trespassers wouldn't be tolerated. Just as Tom was about to retreat, a sharp smell hit him, a strange, pungent odor rising from the ground beneath the tables. Guests began wrinkling their noses, some covering their faces, others trying to find the source. The scent was foul, unmistakably rotten, but faint enough to spread slowly through the crowd. Whispers turned to complaints. People started leaving, their chatter turning to groans of discomfort. Karen's forced smile faltered as she tried to salvage the party, but the damage was done. Behind the chaos, Tom's heart pounded with a mix of guilt and grim satisfaction. The stench was no accident. It was his secret weapon, a natural deterrent, carefully spread in the hours before the event. He hadn't broken any laws, but he had sent a clear message. Karen's party wouldn't take over his land without a fight. But the victory felt fragile. As the last guests fled, Tom caught sight of Karen staring directly at him, her eyes blazing with fury and something colder: calculation. This wasn't over. Later that night, as Tom locked his doors and tried to rest, the sense of being watched returned stronger than ever. Outside, the faint sound of footsteps circled his house. A window rattled softly and the porch light flickered. Tom's mind raced. Karen had security, or worse, spies, and they were closing in. In the quiet darkness, Tom made a vow. If Karen wanted a war, he would fight smarter and harder. The hayfield was more than grass and dirt. It was his legacy, and he wasn't about to let it become a battleground for anyone but him. The night after the ruined party, Tom barely slept. Every creak of the house, every whisper of wind set his nerves on edge. Karen's glare from across the field haunted him. and he knew she wouldn't let the stinky sabotage slide. Morning. Light brought no relief. The field was a mess. Crushed plastic chairs, empty beer cans, and scattered decorations. Worse, Karen had already been there, barking orders at workers cleaning up, her voice sharp as a whip. Tom's neighbor, Mrs. Caldwell, stopped by, her expression grave. "Tom, I heard from some folks. Karen's planning something bigger. Something no one knows about yet." Tom's curiosity snapped to attention. "What do you mean?" She lowered her voice. "There's talk of a secret meeting, high-up people from the city. Something about rezoning the land for commercial use. If that happens, your field won't just be a party lot. It'll be gone, replaced by buildings." Tom's stomach twisted. Karen wasn't just trying to throw loud parties. She was planning to take away his land entirely. That night, Tom's phone buzzed again. Another anonymous text. "Last chance, drop it." He ignored it. Determined to uncover the truth, Tom decided to follow Karen. He waited until she left her house early the next morning, dressed in a sharp coat, and slipped into his truck. Keeping a careful distance, he trailed her as she drove to a secluded cafe on the edge of town. Inside the cafe, Tom spotted Karen meeting with two unfamiliar men, one dressed in a suit, the other carrying a thick binder. They spoke in hushed tones, glancing around nervously. Tom strained to hear snippets. "Rezoning, fast-track approval, influence the HOA, pressure the council." His blood ran cold. Suddenly, Karen's eyes flicked toward the window. Tom ducked down just in time as she stood abruptly and exited. He waited a few minutes before retreating, his mind racing. This was bigger than he'd imagined. Karen wasn't just an overbearing neighbor. She was a force reshaping the entire community for her own gain. Back home, Tom knew he needed help. The secret meeting, the pressure on the council, the mysterious security. It was a conspiracy. But who could he trust? The next day, he met with a local journalist, Emily, known for exposing corruption. He showed her photos and messages, and she listened, eyes wide. "This is explosive," Emily said. "If Karen's pushing rezoning through shady deals, this could ruin her." Together, they began gathering evidence, planning to confront Karen publicly. But as they dug deeper, strange things happened. Files on Tom's computer vanished, his phone's battery drained suspiciously fast, and one morning, his mailbox was filled with unsigned threats. The final warning came when Tom's truck was vandalized, tires slashed, and a note left on the windshield. "Stop digging, or else." Fear gnawed at him, but so did resolve. Tom knew Karen's game was ruthless, but he wasn't backing down. His hayfield, his peace, and his community were worth fighting for. He called Emily. "We need to expose her, no matter what." Emily nodded. "I'm with you. Let's bring the truth to light." As Tom hung up, he glanced toward the field, now eerily silent. The war for the hayfield was no longer just about land. It was a battle for the soul of the neighborhood, and the stakes had never been higher. Tom's life had become a high-wire act of caution and resolve. Every step forward felt like walking through a minefield. But with Emily's help, he felt a flicker of hope, a chance to bring Karen's shadowy plans into the harsh light of day. Emily worked fast, her journalistic instincts razor-sharp. Together, they pored over public records, HOA minutes, and city council filings. What they found chilled them. Karen had quietly pushed through amendments allowing the HOA to lease common land, including Tom's hayfield, for commercial use. The paperwork was peppered with loopholes and vague language, crafted to keep homeowners in the dark. "Look at this," Emily whispered one evening, pointing at a clause buried deep in the documents. "She's engineered a way to claim community benefit to justify commercializing private properties. If she gets council approval, your hayfield could be legally turned into a party venue, or worse, sold to developers. Tom clenched his fists. Karen was playing a long game, one designed to wrest control from the neighborhood piece by piece. But their breakthrough came with a call from an unexpected source. Marcus, one of Karen's closest HOA allies, who had grown uneasy about her tactics. "I can't keep watching this," Marcus said in a hushed voice during a secret meeting with Tom and Emily. "Karen's crossing lines. The security, the threats, it's too much. I have access to some emails, documents, proof of her manipulation, but I need guarantees, protection." Tom felt a surge of cautious optimism. "We'll protect you, but you have to trust us." Marcus nodded. "I'm ready." That night, Marcus handed over a trove of incriminating evidence. Emails showing Karen coordinating with local officials, shady meetings with developers, and plans to push through rezoning no matter the cost. But just as they thought they had the upper hand, the danger closed in. A week later, Tom found his house ransacked, drawers pulled open, papers scattered, and his laptop smashed. A chilling message was left on his kitchen wall, written in thick black marker. "Stop! Now!" Fear surged through Tom's veins. Karen wasn't just playing dirty, she was ruthless. Emily urged caution. "We need to get this to the press, quickly, before they can silence you." But Tom hesitated. He knew Karen's power ran deep. Exposing her might mean war on all fronts. Meanwhile, Karen's grip on the HOA tightened. She used her influence to silence dissenters, spreading rumors to isolate Tom. Some neighbors turned cold, their friendships fractured by fear or persuasion. The hayfield felt less like a home and more like a battlefield. Then, one evening, Karen herself appeared at Tom's door. Her smile was sharp, eyes glittering with triumph. "Tom," she said, sweetly, "this could all end. If you step down, walk away." Tom met her gaze, steady despite the threat behind her words. "No," he said firmly. "This ends when you're stopped." Karen's smile faded. "You're making powerful enemies." Tom watched her leave, the door closing with a heavy finality. Alone, he realized the fight had become more than property rights. It was a struggle for justice, for the community's soul. As the moon rose high, Tom made a decision. He wouldn't back down, no matter what Karen threw at him, because sometimes standing up means risking everything. Tom's world had grown smaller, more dangerous. With Karen's grip tightening and threats escalating, he felt the walls closing in. Yet the flame of resistance still burned within him, thanks to Marcus's leaked evidence and Emily's relentless reporting. The community was starting to murmur. Whispers of doubt and anger began spreading quietly like wildfire. But then, a new player stepped onto the stage, someone Tom hadn't expected. One afternoon, as Tom was surveying the field's perimeter, a sleek black SUV pulled up. A woman in a sharp business suit stepped out and approached him with a calm confidence. "Mr. Jenkins?" she asked, extending a hand. "I'm Rachel Morgan. I'm a city council member." Tom blinked in surprise. "What brings you here?" Rachel's eyes were steady. "I've been watching the situation with Karen and your field. The city has received complaints, but official complaints often don't get traction, especially when someone like Karen pulls strings. I want to help." Tom's heart raced. After months of fighting shadows alone, a genuine ally from inside the system felt almost unreal. Rachel continued, "The rezoning plans Karen's pushing are on shaky legal ground. With the evidence you and Emily have gathered, we can challenge the council vote, delay it, maybe even stop it altogether. But it will take public pressure and a legal fight." Tom nodded, feeling hope and trepidation in equal measure. "I'm in. What do you need?" Rachel smiled faintly. "Gather the community. We hold a town hall meeting, a real one, not Karen's staged events. We expose the truth. But the battle was far from over. That very night, Tom's phone buzzed. Again, an anonymous warning. You think you're safe? Think again. The next day, the community buzzed with nervous energy as news spread of the upcoming meeting. Tom and Emily worked tirelessly, coordinating flyers, social media posts, and rallying support. Some neighbors who had been silent began to reach out, emboldened by the chance to speak. The night of the town hall arrived, and the old community center was packed beyond capacity. Faces were tense, the air thick with anticipation. Rachel took the podium first, outlining Karen's manipulations with clear facts and hard evidence. Emily followed, sharing her investigative findings, revealing Karen's backdoor deals, her intimidation tactics, and the hidden agenda behind the party lot. Then Tom stepped forward, voice steady but fierce. This field isn't just land, he said. It's part of our history, our peace. Karen's trying to take it from us under false pretenses, and we're here to say, not while we stand together. The room erupted in applause, but Karen, seated at the back, remained stone-faced. Her allies sat rigidly beside her, eyes dark, with fury. As the meeting closed, Rachel announced a temporary injunction to halt the rezoning vote. A small victory, but a victory nonetheless. But as Tom left the building, the chill returned. Outside, a black SUV idled in the shadows. A window rolled down, and Karen's voice hissed through the darkness. This isn't over, Tom. You're about to lose everything. Tom squared his shoulders and walked away, the weight of the coming fight settling on him like armor, because the final battle wasn't just for the hayfield. It was for the future of their entire neighborhood. The tension in the neighborhood was electric. The town hall had galvanized the community, but Karen's threat still echoed in Tom's ears like a dark promise. You're about to lose everything. Those words fueled both fear and determination. Tom knew Karen's next moves would be ruthless. He couldn't afford to wait for her to strike again. In the quiet hours before dawn, Tom devised a plan. One last surprise that might turn the tide. It had to be clever, undeniable, and unmistakably his. He remembered the stinky sabotage from the failed party, the rotten eggs, the sour milk, and the decomposing fish he had carefully scattered in hidden spots. It wasn't just foul, it was a powerful symbol of resistance. Karen thought she could steamroll him, but Tom had the means to fight back in a way no one would expect. With Marcus's help, Tom collected fresh supplies, preparing to unleash the stinky surprise once more, this time on a scale no party planner could ignore. That afternoon, as Karen's crew arrived to finalize preparations for the next big event, an exclusive, lavish celebration meant to cement her control over the property, they were greeted by a smell so vile it stopped them in their tracks. The party tents, the freshly cleaned tables, the pristine lawn, all permeated with the unmistakable odor of decay. Workers gagged, guests fled, and Karen's carefully crafted facade crumbled. Word spread quickly. The neighborhood buzzed with rumors about the mysterious stench that had once again sabotaged Karen's plans. Karen, furious and humiliated, confronted Tom in front of several neighbors, her voice rising. You're childish and pathetic. You can't keep doing this. Tom looked her in the eye, calm but resolute. I'm protecting what's mine. This field isn't a playground for your greed. But just when it seemed the fight would spiral out of control, an unexpected thing happened. Rachel Morgan, the city council member, stepped forward with a decisive announcement. Following the evidence and the community's outcry, the city council has voted unanimously to preserve the hay field as a protected green space, Rachel declared. Karen's rezoning plans are permanently halted. Gasps and cheers erupted through the crowd. Karen's face paled, her reign of influence shattered. In the days that followed, the neighborhood breathed a collective sigh of relief. Karen retreated from public life, her attempts to dominate the community thwarted by a united front and one man's clever defiance. Tom stood in his hayfield as the sun set, the golden stalks swaying gently in the breeze, untouched, preserved, and safe. Mrs. Caldwell approached him, a warm smile on her face. "You did good, Tom. Sometimes standing up means making a little stink." Tom chuckled, feeling the weight of the battle lift. "Yeah, sometimes a little stink is exactly what it takes." And with that, peace returned, not just to the hayfield, but to the entire neighborhood, a reminder that courage and community could overcome even the most stubborn storms.